The Viking woman who sailed to America and walked to Rome, Gudrid the Far-Traveled, earned her name. She was the greatest female explorer of all time. She was the best-traveled woman of the Middle Ages. She gave birth to the first European baby in North America, but most people have never heard of her. Everyone remembers Eric the Red, her father-in-law. Everyone knows Leif Erikson, her brother-in-law. But what about Gudrid, daughter of Torbjorn? Gudrid's daring exploits are described in the Vinland sagas. They describe the Viking exploration of North America. The explorers called it Vinland after the wild grapes that grew there. These sagas were told and retold from memory. They were only recorded in the 13th century. 200 years of oral transmission led to inconsistencies. Also, they freely mix fact with fiction. There are dragons, trolls, and supernatural occurrences. But the main storyline has been proven by archaeology. A Viking outpost was found in Newfoundland in the 1960s. One of the artifacts discovered there was a spindle. It was used for spinning yarn, typically by women. The spindle may have been handled by Gudrid herself. Gudrid was around 15 when she traveled to Greenland with her father. Only half the Vikings made it to the island alive. They were rescued by Leif Erikson, son of Eric the Red. Gudrid settled in Greenland and eventually married Thorstein Eriksson. He was Leif's brother and Eric's son. Thorstein died during a plague outbreak in Greenland. According to the sagas, his corpse rose from its deathbed. It delivered a prophecy for Gudrid. She would marry an Icelander and have many children. She'd leave Greenland, visit Norway, travel south, and return to Iceland. Gudrid went on to marry Thorfinn Karlsefni, a merchant from Iceland. She urged him to settle Vinland. The land had already been discovered by Leif Erikson. Gudrid and Thorfinn led a party of 60 men and 5 women. In Vinland, Gudrid gave birth to Snorri Thorfinnsson. It was the first reported birth of a European in the New World. This happened at some point between 1005 and 1013 AD. Gudrid's group spent 3 years in America. Harsh conditions and hostile natives caused them to leave. When Snorri was 3, the family returned to Europe. They were welcomed at the royal court in Norway. They grew rich from selling their exotic goods. Eventually, Gudrid and Thorfinn settled in Iceland. The family led a peaceful, prosperous life. Thorfinn died of old age. When Snorri married, Gudrid went on a pilgrimage to Rome. She traveled most of the way on foot. Gudrid returned to Iceland to find a new church. Snorri had built it for her on her request. Gudrid lived out the remainder of her life in the church. She became the first nun in Iceland's history. It's not known when exactly Gudrid died, but she didn't die in obscurity. She established a powerful and influential family. Among her progeny were 3 early bishops of Iceland. Her most famous descendant was Snorri Sturluson. He compiled Icelandic sagas in the 14th century. Most of what we know about Viking history is due to him.